everyone, and welcome to Magic is Real. This is the podcast where we talk about all things metaphysical and spiritual with a focus on spiritually transformative experiences, including near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, spiritual healing, etc. I myself am a psychic medium, and today I'm very happy to have with me Alison Ward, who is an award-winning author. She's also a spiritual coach and a psychic. Alison did have a near-death experience, which she has shared everywhere. You can look it up all over the internet, and we will touch on it a bit. But today we're really going to focus on her own psychic journey, channeling, seeing energy, and how we can help you, our audience, do the same, which is one of my favorite topics. I also teach mediumship, intuition, and the synchronicities of the universe, which are so magical. Alison, thank you so much for joining me on Magic is Real to share your spiritual journey and insights.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well. Now, before I was recording, we were speaking, and I asked you something that I find to be a pattern here is that most people I know who have had a near-death experience were already seeing spirit, having psychic experiences, and or had a traumatic birth experience that helped their soul remember where they really came from. May not be your story, but I'd love to hear about your background as a child,
Yeah.
your journey, however you'd like to share it, wherever you'd like to start.
Well, I was the middle child of four. There were four children, so I was a middle child, and obviously we're all independent, we're all different. But I remember as a very small child seeing things, sensing different energies in rooms, and I remember today different classrooms had a different energetic signature scent, as I call it, and some classrooms I just didn't want to go in. Just like some people you just connect with and you like their energy, and some others' energy repel you, and you don't want to look repelled, but part of you is saying run Rami, run because you don't like the energy that is exuding from that person. And then other times you have that connection. But my older sister, she was also very psychic. I would say she was more psychic than me as a child, and we used to share a bedroom. In fact, my older sister and my younger sister, the three of us used to share a bedroom when we were young. And sometimes I would have a dream one night. I'd tell her about my dream, and then she would have part two the next night. I'd have part three, and then she'd have part four. And then we decided to push this a little bit, and we started to leave our bodies, and we'd be floating around the bedroom. And then one day we both said to each other, who's the bravest one who's going to leave the house and start flying around? So we both did, but I found it quite scary at first. But we saw the silver cord that would bring us back, and then we'd come back down. We started off with experimenting with how far we can go to the ceiling, and then we just went through the ceiling and out of the building and around and about our neighbourhood. And I recollected today that actually sometimes I still go back in time to my childhood house. And as energy, I go through the door, I go up the stairs, I go into the old bedrooms, and I see how it's changed the house than how it is now and how it was. Um, we also used to see energy auras around people. And my best friend Gail, she passed quite a few years ago, but when we used to start going out to pubs and that together, we'd be sitting in a corner and looking at people's auras and say, look at the aura on her. And
Wow.
we would guess what people's lives were like, and we'd make up stories. We'd be in our own little fantasy world. And I've mentioned this before, when I was much younger, I used to see fairies. And I've got a friend, Lena, who also used to see fairies, who I'm still in touch with. And I told her where I saw the fairies, which was behind a Methodist church in the long grass and near the weeds. So then she went and found them. So she used to play with them as well. And I don't recall playing with them. I just remember just sitting and just, watching them. And what I started to do, because I thought it was a nice thing to do, I started to relocate my mum's gold jewellery to them. So I would go into a jewellery box. My mum loved her jewellery, and I'd get the finest gold chains. I'd wrap them up in newspaper, and they'd go and leave them for her. And I must have done that quite a few. I had no idea about the value. I just thought it'd be a nice thing to do. I don't think I've ever told my mum that. She's 86 now. Maybe I should tell her before, before the end of her life. But I also noticed that as a child, when you would explain and share your stories with others, particularly adults, they would think you were making it up. You'd be called a liar or a fibber, as we were called in the UK. And that would make you shrink a little bit, wouldn't it? Because they're almost denying your personality, denying your innate gifts. So I became very shy as a child. And I would force myself to do things to try and overcome the shyness. And that's definitely worked in later life with the sort of the work that I've done and the media stuff that I've done. But yeah, as a child, it was a bit of a mixed blessing in lots of ways. And of course, what no one tells you then is that you don't always get the nice parts of the psychic ability. Yeah, I'd sometimes hear voices, not inside my head. And I'm not schizophrenic, but I
Yeah.
would hear voices that might not have been so pleasant. My first experience actually was I was only 14 that I can remember. And my mom, my friend Gail, and myself went to a spiritualist church. And we didn't know, but it was a circle in the spiritualist church. Now, what was interesting, the leader of that circle, she really was warm to me and was fussing all over me, but she didn't really warm to my friend Gail, which I didn't understand why, because Gail was an incredible psychic. And she was pleasant to my mum, but she was fussing over me a lot, and I didn't understand why. And I wasn't used to that sort of fussing. I was one of 4 kids. You didn't get that, typically. She didn't talk to us at all about opening up, shutting down, any techniques at all to protect your energy, and none of that was talked about. So there's quite a few people in this circle. And she said, Alison, I want you to come to the centre of the circle. And she sat a guy down on a chair and she gave me a basket of ribbons. And she said, I want you to put ribbons on this guy's head. Just choose which ribbons speak to you, which colours you feel resonate with his energy. So I was loving it. I was going, yeah, I'll put a bit of yellow and a little bit blue. And then she said, I want you to put your hands on his shoulders and just say whatever comes. Well, it just started. I couldn't stop it. It was just, and this guy was moving as if to say, how does she know that? How does she know that? How does she know that? And I started saying really personal things about his mental health. He was considering suicide. And she told me to shut up then. She said, that's enough now. Go back to your seat. I was a bit confused by her being really encouraging and, to go from that to go back to your seat. She didn't tell me anything about shutting down. We walked to the spiritualist church. On the way home, this guy was chasing us because he wanted me to tell him more about, which I can understand now. But at the time, I thought the bogeyman was chasing us, and we had the 3 of us running down the street was quite hilarious. But there was a lot of psychic activity in the house after that. Things suddenly moving, noises, voices, hearing my name. And this went on for ages until I finally told my mom. And my mom said, you've opened yourself up. You need to sort of close yourself down. So I did it intuitively. Wasn't shown how to do it. I just imagined I had a door and I just shut the doors, not too tightly. And I think that was obviously the right thing to do. And it wasn't until years later when I came about spiritual healing, Reiki healing, crystal healing, angel therapy, all of those areas that I studied, that I really understood the importance of your spiritual well-being and your energetic hygiene. And as a consequence, touch wood, I don't have any nastiness, any lower energies coming now. But it was a bit of a shock to at 14, a teenager, and I thought I was going nuts. And then I thought that there must be something wrong with me to attract all this, what I deemed as negative psychic energy in the house. And then interestingly, just before the attack that led to my near-death experience, literally days before, there was suddenly energy in the house. It was as if I was being warned to get out of the house. I had a very small kitchen. And this one night, I did the washing up. I didn't have a dishwasher. I did the washing up, and I put the plates in the rack, and it was quite a deep rack. And I then went and sorted my son out. He was only young, 2.5. And then we heard these plates being smashed in the kitchen. They were properly in the, in the area. So you couldn't understand why they would be smashed, but other things were smashed as well. And then when my child was in bed, when Sam was in bed, that same night, I heard moving around. So I went upstairs thinking, as he got out of bed, what's he doing? And his toilet trainer seat was on top of the toilet seat, but he couldn't have reached it because it was right at the top, whereas I had to stand on something to get it. And it was on the seat, and he was fast asleep. So I had little things like that, and then I was being poked awake at night. And I'm sure the one time I heard "get out," but of course, what do you do? It's your home.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 days later, I had a horrific attack that, as you say, people can look up. And I left my body and visited my welcoming committee, my granddad at the front. And then I came back into my body to see the bloody mess. And my journey started over again. I also had another situation. Part of my healing journey was going down the holistic route, as well as praying, as well as connecting with Jesus, Yeshua. I'd always been really close to that connection with Jesus. And I didn't tell not many people about it. It was just a private thing. When you're one of 4 kids in a family, you tend to keep things private, so you get some privacy. And then I started teaching Reiki from 2000 to 2016. And doing readings for people and soul guidance sessions and mentoring and teaching all the things I'm doing now. Well, I'm not teaching Reiki now. And it was, we were talking about synchronicities, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, I sat in my therapy room in my old house, and I was given absolute gratitude for the work that I do. I love the work I do. I'm so blessed and so grateful. And I was just sitting there, and I was talking to Jesus, and I was saying, thank you so much for sending me the most wonderful people. Thank you for helping me with the work that we do, because we definitely experienced some miracles in that treatment room. And I then said, what do you want me to do next? And I heard clear as anything, we want you to take the light to Dubai. Now I'm sitting there, right? I'm a straight talking girl, right? I'm sitting there, and I said, excuse me, but Dubai's a bloody desert. What do you mean, take the light to Dubai? And they said, it needs light, and we need you to go. So I said, okay, open up the way for me to go, make it happen. I swear this is the truth. Within hours, I had a phone call from a girl who lived and worked in Dubai, who had come back to the area I lived in to visit her mum. And she said, I'm going back to Dubai tomorrow. I'm wondering, have you got an opening for a soul guidance session? I said, well, I've got one opening. It fits, and we were only 15 minutes from the airport. So she came, she had a session, it blew her away. She went to the airport, and it just came out of my mouth. I'm not at all a pushy person, but it came out of my mouth. If you want me to come to Dubai and bring the light to Dubai, I'd be happy if you'd sort that out. I was in Dubai probably 2 or 3 weeks later with a friend of mine who I taught Reiki to, and she was really special, this friend. She had a beautiful gift, and she was a beautiful soul. Her name was Jane. She passed 4 years ago. And I was told she needed to come with me because she needed to be fast-tracked. Didn't know why she needed to be fast-tracked. So we went to Dubai, and this girl had got us a room above a really beautiful salon, and only women could come and see us because it was Dubai, obviously. And what I ended up doing was I said to Jane, right, I'll do half an hour reading, soul guidance, and then why don't you do half an hour healing? And then we can alternate, so we get a break every time. Well, word went round, and we had people queuing up to see us. We were there, I think, 5 or 6 days, and we were sold out,
Wow.
which was amazing. On the last day, we were exhausted, and we were doing a bit of sunbathing before we went home. And me and Jamie, we'd like take the mickey out of each other and like play each other up. And I said to her, she was wearing a bikini. I said, you look bloody good in that bikini. I said, you've got great boobs. And my boobs weren't that good. I said, I wish I had good boobs. And she said, you know what? This one's a bit uncomfortable. And I said, let me scan it. So I just put my hand above it. I didn't touch, just in her energy field. And I said, Jane, it's buzzing. Now, I knew when I felt that buzzing, obviously you can't diagnose unless you're a medical practitioner and trained, obviously. But I knew from experience, because I used to work with a lot of women who had breast cancer, because I was linked to a hospice. And that buzzing was a similar buzzing. So I said, please go and get checked out when you got home. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. But she says that the reason she got through the breast cancer so eloquently, and she used to go to chemo all dressed up in her car with the music on. And I went with her a couple of times, and I'd send healing to the chemo. And the nurses used to say to her, no one would think that you were having chemo. You look incredible. Even when her hair come out, you look incredible. And I said to her, why and how did you get through that experience, so effortlessly, or that's what it came across? And she said, because of the miracles I saw in Dubai with you. And one of those miracles, and it was a miracle, this was when things really shifted for me. On the last day, or the day before, I decided to offer an angel workshop. I love angels. My angel came to me in my near-death experience, Sarah. And I started working with the archangels. I was trained by Doreen Virtue in 2005, I think 2003, 2005, in Glastonbury in England. That's when she used to do this sort of work before she went off on her tangent. And it really awakened something in me. And I remember playing with Archangel Gabriel as a little girl, when at the same time I played with the fairies. Some people are going to be watching this, aren't they? This girl is off her fruit, but honestly, I'm not. So what I decided to do in this workshop was open a meditation, welcome everyone in. Maybe, if people wanted to share, they could, but I said it's a safe place for it to be. And I said, I'm now going to introduce each archangel, and they will channel a message for us. I disappeared for an hour and a half. Jane was in the room with me. I said, will you hold my energy? I said, and if I struggle to come back, will you rub my legs or use these crystals? An hour and a half, I went missing in action. Quite literally, I've got no memory of an hour and a half. When I came back, I really whoosh came back in the body like heavy. I remember I was wearing this really pretty dress that I wish I could get into it now, but I just knew I had to wear this really pretty dress. And I'm not really a dressy, flowery type girl, but for this angel workshop, it was very angelic, and that's what I wore. When I came back, people were crying, joy, laughing, hugging, saying thank God, it was just miraculous, magical. And Jane looked at me and she said, you might have to bleep this. What the fuck has just happened? And I went, I don't know.
So you had never channeled before the angels? I mean, I know you'd
Not in
communicated
that
with them.
way.
Not in that way.
Not
Yeah.
in that way. I had in my sessions, but not in the public domain like that,
Yeah.
above a hair salon in, downtown Dubai. No.
Yeah.
But it changed a lot of their people's lives. One lady kept in touch with me, and she was married to a guy, and they lived in Dubai. Now, if you're married in Dubai and your marriage breaks up, you normally have to leave. She was a Canadian woman. But she went home that night and she left her husband. She said the marriage is over, because that's what she got from that day. She knew that she wasn't living her true, authentic life. Disclaimer, disclaimer,
Yeah.
come to this workshop, you've got to be so
Yeah.
careful. But she has gone on to do great things. She's a great spiritual teacher herself now. She's like a goddess. She uses her sexual energy and her creative energy to help women. She's now got into sound. Shout out to you, know you are. And her first name is Stella. That's all I'm saying. But if she watches this, she knows. She's an amazing woman. And she actually invited me to stay at her house the next time I went, which I did. And that was an interesting situation. What happened there? I went to teach Reiki then with a small group of people. That was fantastic. But yeah, there's been lots of magical and miracles, lots of miracles that I never take for granted. And I don't expect, I'm just truly grateful that they happen.
Yeah. Your most recent book is called The Reluctant Psychic.
Reluctantly psychic.
I was just about to say, I don't think I got that
Yeah.
right, but
It was
reluctantly,
going to be called that, though, to be fair.
okay,
Yeah, so it was.
reluctantly psychic, and you interview other reluctant psychics. What
Wow.
does, or yeah, can you explain where the reluctance comes in?
Of course, of course.
And let's talk about your book a little bit, because
Yeah,
I think I'd like to go into that a bit, because I think I used to be under the impression that only certain people were gifted this ability to
absolutely.
connect.
Yeah,
And I think that some people like you were specifically, your soul path was to do this work on this earth.
no doubt. Yeah,
And yet we are all actually capable to a degree, depending on your brain structure, depending on your sensitivity, depending on
yes.
your interest and your belief. So yeah, I would love to know where the title came from, and share what's in the book, and
Yeah.
what you and some of the other, what you kind of gleaned from interviewing other psychics as well.
So first of all, it wasn't, I think it was book number 5. It was in lockdown. And in lockdown, I had enormous sense of peace. And I knew that a lot of people didn't have that peace. So at the time, I was doing lots of Facebook Lives just to help the people out there. That was my job in lockdown. At least once a day, I'd do a live, sometimes twice, and I'd channel and I'd say, "Hold on in there," and I just knew. I was so peaceful. It was a really good time for me, and I was one of these people who decided not to have the vaccine, not because I was from that group of people that would call certain things, but my very strong gut feeling was not to have it. So I
Hmm.
didn't have it. And I got slammed by a lot of people for that, as you can imagine, including family members. But I have to listen to my guidance. It has never, ever, ever, ever let me down. So I'm going to listen to it and act upon it. And while I was doing these lives, I got a very strong message. You need to do a book to help people in these times, because people are waking up. And I kept getting calls and messages. I'm suddenly seeing colours. I'm going through a Kundalini awakening. I need some help. And it was fantastic, because I could see, the mass consciousness just growing and opening up like a flower. So I had this mad idea that I was going to do a collective book. So I didn't interview anybody. I just put out on social media, I want your stories of being psychic, of being a reluctant psychic.
Mm.
So miracles, synchronicities, sudden healings, sudden awarenesses, predicting something and it happened. Really different, extraordinary things. Because I realised that we had lost, as a human race, a lot of our innate abilities. Telepathy, for example, that's something, that I still do now, like with my boys 30 and 34. But my boys, I still telepathically check in with them, and are you okay, and know if they're stressed and what have you. And I telepathically talk to my dogs, and me and my husband, we will often send telepathic shopping lists. And so things like having that awareness has been lost. And I thought if I could help bring that out in people, it would start to waken people up and it will really help them individually, but us as a collective. So I really believe in that, be the change you wish to see in the world. That is how I live my life. My little part of the world, I just try and bring peace, happiness, joy, maybe a few laughs along the way, and some practicality. I like to be very practical. So within hours, I had 44 people, including myself, who wanted to submit their story. This book was completed in 16 days. And that meant getting the stories in, editing them, collating them, typesetting it, choosing the cover, ISBN number, getting it available for print. 16 days. Now, you can't tell me that's not a miracle. I mean, it was just, and also dealing with 44 different personalities was a challenge,
Oh, yeah.
as you can imagine. But it's a wonderful book if someone is just waking up, realizing that maybe they're psychic, or even, a psychic that's been a psychic all their life. Because they're short stories, you can just dip in and out of it, or you can just write, where's it gonna open, and just read that story. And what some of the authors have said is that, they've got work from it, because if you resonate with someone's energy, you might contact them. And so, yeah, that's what Reluctantly Psychic it was
Yeah.
all called. But it was called The Reluctant Psychic. And at the time, my older son, Sam, who was in events and obviously wasn't working because of lockdown, so he'd lost his income, he'd lost his job, he had to move out of his flat, he couldn't be near his family, he lives in London, we don't. I said to him, would you do the marketing for the book? And he was brilliant. He did all the marketing. It was absolutely brilliant what he did. And he said, Mum, I'm not liking the title. He said, Reluctantly Psychic sounds much better. And I thought about it, thought it does, because a lot of psychics who may not realize they're psychics, who are in denial, are reluctant to own their gifts, because sometimes I'm working with a lady at the moment. I've been working with her for a while now. She is ribbed by her newly discovered gifts.
Mm-hmm.
She's in a part of America that it's not as accepted, and some people see it going against the Bible. But, I said to her, just be you. Just be you, and your people will find you. And you know what? From my own personal experience, I don't really care if people don't believe me, because I know the truth, and that's it.
Same. Yeah, I don't care either. I post about it, and I know that the people that think I'm nuts just won't say anything about it, and they might unfriend me. But the people who are wanting to explore, who are having their own awakenings, are coming to me and saying, thank you for doing this, and I'm excited
Yes.
about it, and this is so cool. And also, people know me to be very logical, rational, normal person. One of my best friends never believed in any of this, and she said, but then when I saw you doing it, I knew it was real, because I know you. And I know that, first
Exactly.
of all, I know you would never fake it. And I also know that you're sane. And I also saw it for myself when you gave a reading to my parents. And so now I believe in it because I know you. And that's also the mission of this podcast. Part of the mission is I want to present this in a grounded way, that you said people are going to say, oh,
Yeah.
she's off her rocker. But I know it sounds crazy, but I used to be an agnostic, sometimes atheist, and I understand why people think this is nonsense. And also, I now know that it isn't, and that it's realer than real. So I think when you talk about reluctance, it's not so much, oh, I don't want to be a psychic. It's like it came to us, it found us
Yes. Yes.
in ways where it's some of us. I actually did seek it out, but I also know that it was trying to find me. And I think I would love to know your thoughts too on, so you already had a very innate ability, as did your sister, which to me indicates probably your grandmother or
Yes.
somebody had that as well,
That's
and
right.
your
Yes.
mother.
Yeah.
Uh, and my mother has it too. She just never pursued it. It just was something that would always happen
Yeah.
organically.
Yeah.
And so you shut that door, but when you shut the door for yourself, when you imagined kind of closing that door, did it shut it down completely, or were you just shutting out the darker, the more negative, so
The
that
darker. I
yeah,
had my inner world. My inner world was magical to me,
Yeah.
and that's where I stayed. And I resonate with the stories you just said about your friends, and obviously I've been getting ready for your podcast because when someone takes the time to invite you, you want to give you the best that you can give, and I do that with my clients as well. I like to give absolute presence. Last Friday, I met a friend who has known me for 51 years. And I've not met her for a while because I've got over, well, I was burnt out, and only the last year I've felt well again. So it meant that I couldn't walk as much, and just it really affected my physical body. I feel that was a bit of a psychic attack, by the way, that I had that because I was aware of a spiritual war going on, but that's another story. Anyway, I met her and I told her about the book that I'm writing at the moment, which is called Aquarian Light Healing. And this has been downloaded to me by Jesus for the last 18 months to 2 years. This new healing modality. It's very simple. It's very beautiful. It's been downloaded, and I've only just finished writing the manual, and then I will, because my guidance was do the manual, teach it, do the manual, so a bit backward, write the book, and then I'll start offering it to the world. And I offered a lovely lady I've been working with a while, I offered her a free place of teaching it because I just wanted to give back to her. But I also said, in return for your feedback. Now, while this was happening, I got a really bad dose of the shingles because my immune system's low. In fact, I got 2 doses in 2 months and I felt really ill. So she was sending me this Aquarian light healing. Well, what happened as a result? She was getting memories of me in a former lifetime, and they were absolutely spot on because I know they were spot on. And I won't say too much about them because I want to keep that quiet for now, only because people will go, they won't believe me, but I am going to write about it. So she basically confirmed everything I've known since a child, and I'm nearly 62 years old. So everything she was telling me totally confirmed everything I've truly always believed and wondered when I was going to get confirmation, So then going back to the story, meeting my friend who I've not seen for ages. We met for a coffee in the town I used to live in. Lovely to see her, beautiful soul. She'd just finished a writing course at Cambridge University. She's very talented, and she decided to invest in herself and do this writing course. I'm not at all surprised she's a writer. She's an amazing person. So we're sitting down and we're having the second coffee. I only have like 1 coffee once a week, and I've had 2 coffees. We didn't want to leave. And I said to her, I am writing a book. I said, can I tell you about it? So she said, please do. So I told her about it, and I heard myself telling her about the channeling that came through from this lady that was sending me Aquarian light healing that was really incredible. And it was, some people won't believe it, there's no doubt about it. Jesus was involved with it. And all I'll say is I was in the cave and Jesus was there and he was healing me while I was having this awful shingles. And this went on consecutively for about 4 nights, four nights for her, but day for me. That's right, isn't it? Or the other way, right? Nights for me, day for her. That's right, because she's in America and I'm in the UK. And as I was recounting this to my friend, I started sobbing, proper sobbing, because I felt the love of Jesus and I knew that he healed me. And I just couldn't. We were in a busy coffee shop in the centre of a town, and I'm talking about Jesus and sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And I said to her, I'm a bit worried that if I put this in the book, people aren't going to believe me. And then I just went, again, buzzer, fuck that. It's happened. It's real. I'm going to write it. And if people don't like it, don't believe it, tough. This is me being my true, authentic self. And she took my hand and she said to me, Alison, I have known you for 51 years. And I know when you say something, it's the truth. And she said, you're one of the most genuine people I know. I believe you. Now, she didn't believe in all that stuff before, but she actually said, I believe you. And bless her, she's going to edit the book for me. So I thought if someone like that believe, you can tell when someone's been truthful, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
When you read energy, when you sense energy, you know if someone's a BSer or not. You can see it, you can feel it. And I know that to fulfill my purpose of being here at this time of our massive growth, it's such an honour. So why wouldn't you step up? And if people don't like what I say, tough, it's their issue, not mine.
Yeah,
And I think that's what being psychic is about. You will get people who will poo-poo it, who will call your names, who will talk about you behind your back. Let them get on with it. It's their issue, not yours.
exactly that. What you just said about you doing this work here at this time makes sense because I kind of interrupted myself. I had because my question was so long, but you were a psychic. You were already psychic, as we all are, but to a remarkable degree as a child. What do you think the role of having your NDE played in, because you weren't not on that path already. And I see a lot of people who already were interacting with the spirit world, conscious of their gifts. Then they had an NDE because it was almost like an even bigger initiation or a push to this is the work you're going to be doing. Not everyone, but I would say the majority. And the majority of people who have had near death experiences were already highly psychic to begin with. I would say, in my experience,
Yeah,
75% would say I already was seeing spirit. Then I had a near death experience. So, what do you think the purpose of the near death experience was? And you can elaborate if there's more
I'm
you want to
happy
share.
to. I'm
But
happy
yeah,
to. I absolutely know that it was part of my soul contract.
yeah.
I also know that it was part of Graham's soul contract, who is now passed. He passed last June. And I know I wasn't on the route that I was meant to be on.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely know that. I wish I wouldn't have chosen that before I came here. And some people won't believe that, but I know I chose it. It's in my blueprint. I'm well aware
Yeah.
of that. And what was really interesting about this, before it happened, I kept having dreams that he was going to try and kill me. And so did Sam.
Mm.
So I would try and, I even went to the police, a lawyer. Who else did I go to? I went to 3 people to say, I know this man is going to go try and kill me. But there wasn't the stalker laws then because he kept phoning me on the house phone. I didn't have a mobile then. It was 94. Um, there wasn't the stalker laws in the UK then. I didn't have any proof. It was just that I was having dreams and a strong feeling.
Yeah.
And Sam was having dreams and strong feeling. We were sitting ducks. No matter what I did, he would have killed us or
Yeah.
tried to kill us. But as I've often said to Sam since, he didn't kill us, which means that we are here to do great things. And that's also what Sarah, my angel, said. You are here to do great things. We need to make the best of this opportunity and heal ourselves. I can't heal Sam. He has to heal himself. I can only heal myself. We need to heal ourselves and live our best lives, aligned to being really authentic and truthful. So then, but what I found, which was so difficult, the loss that I had was horrendous. I lost my house. I lost my income. I lost my job. I lost my friends. I lost my peace of mind. I lost my mental health. Um, I lost a huge amount of weight. I was losing like pounds every single day I was eating due to the stress. I lost my sense of, I didn't even look like me anymore. I don't look anything like I used to look. You wouldn't think I was the same person if I put a picture of before and after. I look so, so different. I know I'm a lot older now and heavier and everything, but it wasn't a nice way to wake up to my purpose. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. I used to lie in bed, and I used to cry and cry and cry and feel the most awful guilt for bringing my precious 2.5-year-old son into this bloody abusive relationship, even though we'd left it. He did it after we left him. And I'd say, why, why? And then, I was planning my death, and that's when Sarah, my angel, appeared, and she said, "You're here to do great things."
Mm-hmm.
And she just stroked my arm. "You're here to do great things. It will never happen to you again. It will never happen to you again." And my husband, I've been married to Wayne now 30 years this year, he woke up and he heard Sarah talking to me. He didn't see her, which I thought was very interesting. And I said, "Well, she's my angel. Why should you see her? You leave off. She's a good looking girl. I don't want you to see my angel." He went to the toilet thinking he'd woken up funny, because he was so used to me moving around in bed and shouting out and having panic attacks and flashbacks and nightmares. And then that Sam would wake up. I mean, our house was, geez. So he was well aware of that. So then what happened, and this was so beautiful, I started healing because I tried to get help for healing, but there wasn't any help at the time that I could get. There just wasn't the help that there is now. And also, I honestly don't feel I was really open to receiving the help, because I'd be one of those people that say, "I'm sorry, are you busy? Sure you don't mind? I'm ever so sorry." Sorry. So, shrinking. I was shrinking more and more. And then my first job after the attack that I call the awakening was working in a hospice where people were going to die. And I felt at home there. And the role that I had there was to assist the volunteers manager. So I would just interview them, train them, look after them, guide them. And then my job was to build a team of complementary therapists, volunteers. And that's when I came into complementary therapy. But what happened, we had an agreement, if you worked there, if a patient or member of the family or a carer comes to speak to you, you stop what you're doing and you speak to them. I spent most of my time speaking to patients. And sometimes I would tell them about my near-death experience and they would beg me to tell them all about it. And the amount of times they said to me, "Thank you, I'm not scared anymore."
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute privilege.
Yeah.
An absolute privilege. And then that's how I then got into complementary therapies. And then I started building up my business. And then before I knew it, I had to make the choice. Do I stay working in the hospice or do I leave and do it full time? And I did. I left and did it full time. And that was in 2003. So I've been working full time for 23 years on this business.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people think, I want to have a near-death experience.
No,
Most
you
near-death,
don't.
no, yeah. I would say most, if not all, near-death experience say, no, you don't. And in your case, especially, it was so traumatic,
Oh, God,
even
yeah.
without the near-death, the near-death experience. And like you said, people would say, why would you choose that? Why would any soul choose that? And my understanding is because when, from a spirit perspective, when you're on the other side, other dimension, in another form, coming here into this dimension in this body is like the blink of an eye. So
Yeah,
it doesn't, when you're there, it's easy to say, this is going to do my soul good. I need this experience for the contrast,
absolutely. Jeez.
even though we could live to be 100. And so you're going to, have PTSD and have to contend with that. But once you're back, it's like you never left. And the soul knows that. And so that's why it's hard for us to understand why you would ever choose something like that.
But you know something, Shannon, something that I'm going to really admit now openly. I still miss going home.
Yeah.
I am happily married. I adore my two boys, and I've got the most wonderful people in my life. Honestly, I am blessed now. I work hard at becoming a better version of myself. I reflect daily. I put the day to bed. I'm the best I can be for my patients, my clients, for my clients and people I teach and mentor. But sometimes I ache to go back home. I absolutely ache. And I used to do this a lot, and I don't do this so much here in this house. Maybe it's this house. But what I used to do on a Sunday morning, because my husband's an early riser, so he gets up at 5, half 5, and he likes to watch the old movies, and I don't particularly like to watch them. So what tends to happen, he gets up with the dogs, and I'll stay in bed till about half 8 and 9. I might have a cup of tea, and I love that time on a Sunday. But what I used to do, I used to leave my body, and I used to say, right, I'm coming up. You can give me whatever you know I need, whether it's guidance, healing, if you need to clean the insides and the outside, do what you got to do, but I'm coming up. And I'd disappear for now and I'd come back down. And I'd come downstairs and I'd be like feeling lighter, or I'd get real strong guidance on something and say, we've got to move house or
Yeah.
we've got to do this. We've got to do. And if ever I speak in that way, okay. And yet he's not really a believer, but he knows that when I have a particular way of being, of speaking, that right, we're doing it. We've got to make it happen.
Yeah, I've heard this from a lot of other near-death experiencers. On one hand, they wouldn't wish it on someone because usually the reason it happened was because of something traumatic that happened. And
Yeah.
not always. There have been people that had out-of-body experiences spontaneously because they were meant to. However, I'll stick to that. But they also say that they didn't want to come back, even if they had children, even if they had uh,
Yes.
a
No.
partner they loved. And it's not because they don't love their children. It's because they know
No.
that it's all okay and we're all going to be we're not separated. I'm not
No. No.
without them. And also, I think it might have been Peter Panagore, who's a friend because he was on the podcast, and who I think this was him, that he had the experience, and even though he has a beautiful child and a family, he just always wants to go back. And he said, I won't do anything about it. And I'm sorry if it's not Peter, but I think it was. And who also subsequently had a heart attack. And when everyone tried to intervene, he was like, no, don't intervene, just in
Yeah.
case. I'd like to go back. So I think I'll ask you the question. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily, you wouldn't choose to go through it again. But since you did, and since you do have all these beautiful gifts that have resulted from, like, the gift of
Yeah.
being able to hold space for other people that are going through something, death process, even perhaps trauma, um, how has it actually, apart from even just the work you do, helped you sort of navigate life knowing that this isn't all there is, even though you already knew that to begin with, or has it?
Yeah. Because I don't feel on my own.
Yeah.
You can be happily married, surrounded by people who love you in a restaurant somewhere, and you can feel very, very lonely, particularly when you are a psychic, because you miss
Yeah.
home so much.
Mm.
So because I'm totally, totally in awe in the guidance that I'm given, I never ever doubt it, ever. So, for example, if I'm working with a client and they're given something really quite basic, because I always set up space so that what's the highest information to give, you know, Shannon today, for example. And it might be something as simple as change your hairstyle. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll think, oh, that's so trivial, that's nothing. But you don't know what that will mean going to that salon, changing your hairstyle, who you're going to meet. That you just, but that's sometimes the channeling and the guidance is so like theatrical, like Merlin might come in, or Archangel Michael, or Raphael, or Jesus might come in and say, bless you, my friend, I'm with you, I'm always with you, which is common. But sometimes it might be go and change your hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're sitting there thinking, I've paid 144 quid for this. Are you serious? And I'm thinking, look, you might not think it's theatrical, but please, will you just follow the guidance? Because when it comes through for a reason, and they don't tell me everything.
Yeah.
And then, what I want to share another story, and I think people resonate with this. 3 years ago, in October, I had an email from a guy in America. I attract a lot of Americans. I think I must have been American in a former life. And this guy said to me, I'd like to book a session with you, soul guidance. And I felt his energy. I wasn't really quite sure, but I thought, I felt very nervous about doing his session, more so than I always have a little bit of excitement, like adrenaline, because I always want to do my very best
Yeah, me too.
for the people I work with. But this guy, I was really nervous. So he starts off the session by saying, I don't believe in psychics.
Oh.
I know the tricks and the tomfoolery that they do. He said, I've just written an article about it. So I said, you know what? I'll call him Peter. I said, you know what, Peter? I'll do the session for you. And if you don't believe any of it, if it doesn't resonate, I will reimburse you
Mm-hmm.
full price. So he said, okay. I'm still working with that guy now, nearly 4 years, 4 years,
Wow.
3 years later. And I remember once he has an early morning session, like 7:30 in the morning. So we do a walk and talk. He puts his ears on and he's walking around the
Oh,
park,
lovely.
which is beautiful because he's connecting with nature. And this one time he said to me, "Look, this he's come a long way. I really want to connect with my angels." And I said, "Peter, can you believe what the fuck you're saying? You want to?" I said, "You were the man who said to me, I don't believe in any of this, and you're asking me." So I taught him a technique, and I said, "You might feel a waft of uh, scent." I said, "You might feel as if someone's touching your cheek or the top of your head. They might swirl your hair around." He starts laughing. I'm thinking, "What are you laughing at?" He takes off his cap and he's totally bald.
Oh, funny.
I could not stop laughing for about 10 minutes because I had no idea he was bald. He said they'll have a bit of trouble at whirling my hair around. But that man now, he talks to his angels, he meditates, he does yoga, he connects with nature, he started his art again. I mean, what a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the spirit world definitely orchestrated that. It's for me, it gets, I don't read a lot of skeptics because mostly it's word of mouth,
Yeah.
but it does get me nervous because I don't want to feel as though I am, and this is leading to my next question. I don't want to feel that I have to prove something or that I have to
Yes.
be right because then I put pressure on it and then that takes me out of trusting.
You you you
Ironically,
you narrow your energy, don't you, when you do that? If you feel
yes,
like if you test me now, I'd be terrible because I
I
get
know.
really self-conscious. But if I'm
Yes,
in the flow,
same.
I will just be in my flow. And if I think, oh well, fuck it. If they don't like it, they don't
Yeah,
like it. And it will come out. But it absolutely, there's just something I wanted to mention that I think will really help people who've gone through trauma.
yeah, please.
Something I've learned from healing and doing this work and being like the age I am is that separation, we've mentioned that word a couple of times. You do feel separate from people that hurt you. But as hard as this is to understand, and some people won't like this, once you recognize that part of you that is separate, that someone else shows you, a little bit like the Ho'oponopono
Yeah,
technique.
yeah,
I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And recognizing that lost aspect of yourself. So, for example, Graham tried to kill me, tried to kill Sam. So I can't talk about Sam because he's not here in that way. But I had to look at what was it about me that I neglected? What was it about me that I was harming? And I wasn't honoring myself. I was doing a life that I was working in a job that, yeah, I was good at it, but it wasn't my calling. Um, I allowed him to manipulate me and coerce me. I ignored the red flags that were massive red flags. Not saying I deserved it, of course. And Sam certainly didn't. I'm not saying that at all. But I had to take responsibility for my part in the trauma. And once I did, it was like I always hear love is the glue.
mm,
And love, that those lovely Japanese vases that have been broken and they're put back together again. There's a name for it. I can't think of the name. And you can still see the cracks, but they're still beautiful. In fact, they're even more beautiful.
yes.
It's like that. It's like I've got a scar on my lip where he had head-butted me and my lip burst open. And I was offered plastic surgery and I said, no, I don't want it.
Mm.
This is what I look like. This
Oh,
is
that's
this is
beautiful.
me. So separation is key in today's life because of the fastness of life and social media. And you can order a pizza and it'll be here in 10 minutes. You can order whatever you want, drugs, sex, anything, and it'll be with you in minutes. People lose that self connection and that connection to everything else. And my belief is that's why mental health is at its highest because they don't know how to connect and they don't understand about the separation. And once you become reignited and reconnected to source, you've got a friend for life.
That is so beautiful. And the way you describe the vase being put back together, it's fragments. We're all fragments.
Yes.
Even the people that I just got chills about that too, that even the people who I'm getting even more chills, they're the even the people that do us harm,
Yeah.
It's so hard, and I know what you mean. It's hard for people to swallow that
And I wouldn't
truth.
want to patronise anyone
No, me
that's gone through
neither.
something horrifically, you know, losing a child, anything. I will, no, 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 no.
I
I
know,
wouldn't
same.
ever, ever, ever do that. But I think what I'm trying to say as well is that if you can find that reconnection with yourself, with your breathing, touching your heart, reconnect yourself, reconnect to nature, look at the different trees, the different colours, the different textures, the different seasons, that reconnection will then start the healing process, because you'll be breathing better, you'll be more present when you're in the park or going for your walk, and you'll start to hear yourself laugh, and you'll think, oh, that's my laugh again. Oh my God, I haven't
Yeah.
done that for a while. And then you might have it say a joke then a few weeks later, and you think, oh my God, I haven't said a joke for a while. You might do a funny dance, or you might, dance your favourite music and don't care who's watching. And you think, oh my God, I've come back. I'm coming back.
Mm,
My second book is called Bringing You Back to You, which is about those fragments, bringing them all together and back to us.
that's beautiful. Um, I just wanted to ask one more thing, and then we'll wrap up. But in because I realized I'd sort of set it up for the question, but in terms of when we were talking about skeptics and how, for me, that can really rattle me because then I start to go to think I have to prove something, and that takes the whole being present and just receiving out of it. So if you were to tell other people, how do you trust your intuition? I mean, what can we do so that we better trust our intuition? Like you said, you ignored all the red flags, as we often do.
Yeah.
And maybe not how, but anything you'd like to speak to in terms
Yeah.
of trusting people who think, but I'm not psychic. You
Yes,
are.
you are. You are.
Yeah.
I'd have fun with it. So I would say, right, guides, I want to have a meeting with you. Angels, guides, deceased loved ones. Come on, come on, come on, come in the room. Right, I want to know if I'm psychic, or I want you to help me develop my psychic abilities. I'm going to really look out for things in the next 24 hours. I'm going to be clairvoyant. I'm going to be clear seeing. I'm going to look at my palm. I'm going to look at nature. I'm going to look at lights. I'm going to look into people's eyes when they're speaking to me. Give me some absolute proof of my psychic ability within the next 24 hours and have fun with it. Then there's another thing you can do, which I taught my older son to do, and he loved it. He'd come home from school one day. Sam was very bright at school, very academic, and he kept getting in trouble for shouting the answer out, not putting his hand up. Don't you just love how schools and education
Yeah.
stifle our youngsters?
Yes.
Oh.
I
So I
know.
said to him, why don't you have some fun with it? I said, when you know the answer, I said, keep that shut, but send it to someone who doesn't normally know the answer. I said, do that in every lesson today. And I promise you, you'll come home, you'll say to me what fun you had. And that's exactly what happened. He said, Mum, I
Wow.
sent the answer to so and so over there. He never puts his hand up and he knew the answer. And he got, the teacher was really pleased with him. He said, I love it.
Yeah. I do this. Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite exercises, similar, is to say, if you're there, I'm not doubting you, but if you're there, please show me this specific thing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable what happens.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And keeping a journal to remind yourself that, look, we're not always,
Definitely.
yeah, sometimes you're going to be wrong, but once you keep reminding yourself, no, wait a minute though. Last time I asked, in fact, I asked to see, I will pick something so random, so something I have
Yes.
no connection with. And
Yes.
recently I said, show me Marvin the Martian, which is a cartoon. I don't know if you all had it, but I have no affiliation with this. It just popped into my head. And then a couple of days later, driving in traffic, and the car in front of me had a Marvin the Martian sticker on it. And this is a cartoon
Okay.
from like the early 80s and like late 70s, as far as I know. I haven't seen anything to do with Marvin the Martian until I asked. And that happens all the time. And it's just reminding you that it's a little
Yeah.
hello from heaven, and it's a little
Yes.
reminder that this world seems so real, but it
Yes.
actually isn't the whole picture. It's just
Yeah.
a little grain of sand in the full picture. So I will ask you my last question, which is, if there's
Can I just say one more thing? Because I
oh,
think you'll like this story.
please, I would love
So
it.
my dad died 4 years ago, and it was so my father-in-law died. Then my dad died, and then lovely Jane died, who came to Dubai with me. She died
Yeah.
of another cancer. And my oldest son was with us when dad died, and him and dad were really close. He worshipped my dad because he was there for him after the attack, and he'd used to take him on what they'd call men's jobs to get the sausages on a Saturday morning, and
Sweet.
it was so beautiful, their relationship. He was beside himself. So he was living with us at the time, and the day after dad died, Sam got offered a really good job, cracking job. And in our family, whenever there's something to celebrate, we go out for a meal. I said, come on, we've still got to go out. Granddad would not like us not celebrating it. So Sam chose to go to an American diner type place where they do steaks and burgers, that sort of thing. And we were sitting in this place, and we all looked like we'd been crying for England. And he went, Mom, look behind you. And I said, what? And behind me was a sign, and it said, Barbecue King. All the grandkids called my dad the Barbecue King.
Oh,
He said he's with us.
that's so beautiful. You can't make that up. It's just,
No,
it's the timing of it and the letting him know that he is there. He does know. He's
yeah,
fully aware of everything that's happening.
absolutely. And
Oh,
and last year, after I heard Graham died, it opened up PTSD for me on another dimension. And so Sam funded me to have some therapy. I had some EMDR
yeah.
therapy. And every time when I came back from therapy, I'd sit with my journal and I would reflect on what had just happened. And then I would channel. My dad channeled me every single time. And he was speaking to me clear as anything. I can hear, like he's just said, now I'm so proud of you, Al. I'm so
Oh,
Bagsy. That's what he's saying. So I can hear him now. He helped me along that journey so much. And I really did benefit from that time. So we aren't alone, are we? We're
no,
not.
never.
And we're all part of the same grid. You know, you're my sister, I'm your sister. You've got blood in your veins, I've got blood in my veins. This is why I don't even understand like prejudice. I've just
I
never
I
understood
know.
it.
It makes no sense, and the reason that it happens is because of fear.
Yeah,
It's fear,
fear.
and
Yeah, it
it's
is. It is fear.
losing that connection. And that's actually part of why the work we do, not to put myself or anyone on any kind of a pedestal as being some
No.
sort of like savior, but I think that it's important for people to have those awakenings and to realize who we really are, because
Yeah.
none of these things would be happening if we understood that, as you said, we are all literally, it's not just a cliche, we are all one, literally.
Well, you know, when you hear, like, I remember in this country when Princess Diana died all those years ago, everyone felt it.
Yep,
Whether you're a believer or not, we felt the
absolutely.
pain. We didn't
Hmm.
open our curtains all day. And
Yeah,
you know, we all felt the pain and the loss.
yep.
So we are all one.
I was just thinking of her yesterday and thinking what a
Oh,
beautiful,
wow.
beautiful, beautiful woman she was. And I actually was talking to her, and I was never I had no interest in the royal family, none of it. But when
No.
she died, it was like that beautiful young woman
Oh,
who just had a heart of gold, and
yeah.
it just everything. She's someone that's touched a lot of people, right? But it's just that universal grief for the
Queen of
loss.
Hearts.
Yeah, just yeah,
Say no more.
yeah.
Queen of Hearts. When you become psychic, you become a Queen of Heart,
That makes so much sense. Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. And is there anything else that you would like to share in terms of the question I always ask at the end? If there's one thing that you want people to know off the top of your head, what would it be?
That you are loved beyond any recognition. You are loved more than you ever know. And God, the universe, knows all your secrets, knows all your dark thoughts, and yet still you are loved. And the pain you're in, you're not the only one who's felt that pain. There's people right now. So don't be self conscious and don't feel you're the only one going through it, because you're not. And if you're lonely, reach your arms out to another, and that will stop your loneliness. Don't keep your arms closed, reach them out.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. As you said that, angels swooped right in. I had, and the way I experienced that is ear pressure changes. It's like
Yeah,
I've come from like a plane into, or vice versa. Everything there's like a vacuum and my ears start ringing. And to
yeah,
me, that means we're in the presence of angels, spirit
and
guides
we certainly are.
who are validating what you're saying and sending the love out to everyone listening and the world. But, if you're listening, know that you're also being protected and loved, even when things are hard. It doesn't mean we're not going to
Absolutely.
experience trauma, but that we have guidance on the way. It doesn't mean we're not going to die. Doesn't mean we're not going to get sick. Doesn't mean
And
horrible
dying
things
is
won't happen.
beautiful. That's
And
that there is nothing to be afraid of.
yes,
It is fantastic. I'd die every day if I
yeah,
could.
that's what people tell me.
Don't
That's
kill
the
me, anybody watching.
If the worst thing we have to worry about is death, then it's all good,
Okay.
and it isn't. The worst thing, the thing we have to worry about the most is not death, and that's
Yeah.
also part of the mission of the podcast. So thank you for taking the time, Alison, to join
Oh,
me.
I've loved it.
Me too.
Thank you for allowing me to share these very private moments and giving me another level of I don't give a flying hoot if people don't believe me.
Thank you too. I believe you, and I thank you for being vulnerable enough to share and to trust me with the sacred responsibility of
Absolutely.
doing this with you. So thank you so much, Alison Ward. We'll have information about Alison below. She has a link tree where you can see links to her books and her other interviews. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you so much too. Lovely to meet you.
You too.